Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page were once close friends, two guitar legends who ruled London's music scene in the 1960s. From late-night jam sessions to mutual respect on stage, they seemed inseparable. But something changed. Their bond slowly turned into a lingering tension that left fans puzzled for decades. Clapton's sudden departure from the Yardbirds, an unexpected music release, and a romantic twist involving a French model were all part of a complicated fallout. Now, after years of silence, Clapton has finally revealed what truly drove them apart. So what really happened between these two rock icons? In the early 1960s, the British music scene was booming, and a young guitarist named Eric Clapton was finding his place in it. In October 1963, Clapton joined a rhythm and blues band called the Yardbirds. The group, fresh from the London suburbs, had just taken over as the house band at the Crawdaddy Club in Richmond, following the Rolling Stones. It was an exciting time. The Yardbirds were deeply rooted in the Chicago blues sound, with influences like Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and Bo Diddley. Clapton, too, was a devoted student of American blues, inspired by guitarists like Buddy Guy, Freddie King, and B.B. King. His style blended seamlessly with the Yardbirds' sound. Clapton quickly became a sensation. His bluesy solos were raw and his playing was powerful. Audiences at the Crawdaddy Club were mesmerized, but they were also impatient. Clapton earned the nickname Slowhand when he would stay on stage to replace a broken guitar string, and the crowd would respond with a slow hand clap. It was both a sign of impatience and a tribute to his dedication to keeping the music alive. Clapton's reputation grew rapidly, making him one of the most talked-about guitarists in London. In December 1963, the Yardbirds began touring with American blues legend Sonny Boy Williamson II. It was a significant opportunity for the band and a validation of Clapton's talent. The tour brought them closer to the gritty blues sound they loved. The performances were raw and energetic, capturing the spirit of the blues. The recordings from this tour were later released on the album Sonny Boy Williamson and the Yardbirds. It wasn't a commercial hit, but it became an essential document of the early British blues boom and Clapton's development as a guitarist. By early 1964, the Yardbirds had signed with EMI's Columbia label and recorded live tracks at the Marquee Club in London. The result was 5 Live Yardbirds, an album filled with American blues covers. It wasn't a chart topper, but it later gained a cult following for its authenticity and is one of the few high-quality live recordings of the era. Clapton's guitar work was front and center, showcasing his passion for the blues. Meanwhile, another young guitarist named Jimmy Page was making waves in the London session scene. Page was known for his versatility and technical skill, having worked with big names like The Who, The Kinks, and the Rolling Stones. Although Clapton and Page didn't play together at the time, there was mutual respect between the two. Clapton's reputation as the guitarist's guitarist was well known, and Page admired his commitment to the blues. In March 1965, everything changed for Clapton and the Yardbirds. The band recorded For Your Love, a pop-oriented song written by Graham Gouldman. It was a massive hit, topping the UK charts and reaching number 6 in the US. But Clapton hated it. He saw it as a betrayal of the blues sound he loved. The harpsichord-heavy arrangement was a clear shift toward commercial pop, a direction Clapton wasn't willing to follow. He wanted authenticity, not chart success. So he made a bold decision. He left the Yardbirds on the very day the song was released. Clapton's sudden departure left the Yardbirds without their lead guitarist, but he wasn't leaving them empty-handed. He suggested Jimmy Page as his replacement. Clapton believed that Page's skill and blues roots would be a good fit for the band. But Page had other plans. He was content with his lucrative session work and wary of the politics surrounding Clapton's exit. So he turned down the offer and instead recommended his friend Jeff Beck. Beck joined the Yardbirds 2 days after Clapton's departure, bringing his own distinctive sound to the band. Clapton's departure marked a turning point. He joined John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, diving deeper into the blues. Page, meanwhile, continued his session work but kept a close eye on the evolving music scene. Although Clapton had left the Yardbirds, the connection between him and Page remained. It was the beginning of a complex relationship, one that would shift between mutual respect, rivalry, and eventual fallout. Despite their different paths, Clapton and Page remained arch-buddies, as Page described it. In fact, Page even turned down an offer to join the Yardbirds after Clapton's departure, partly out of respect for his friend and the internal politics surrounding Clapton's exit. During Clapton's time with the Bluesbreakers, he often visited Page's house where the two would jam together. These sessions were informal, mostly just two friends plugging into a recording machine without amplifiers, using heavy distortion over old blues standards. It was during one of these jam sessions that things started to go south between them. In 1965, Page was particularly excited about the recordings they made together. He talked them up to Andrew Loog Oldham, the flamboyant manager of the Rolling Stones and owner of Immediate Records, which had signed the Bluesbreakers. Page believed the recordings were a fresh take on blues and hoped they could be released, giving both him and Clapton some recognition for their experimental sound. However, Oldham saw things differently. He forced Page to hand over the tapes, citing their contracts with Immediate. Page tried to argue that the recordings were just variations of classic blues structures, not meant for commercial release, but Oldham wouldn't budge. He even pushed Page to add overdubs featuring 3 Rolling Stones members, including Mick Jagger on harmonica, before putting the tapes out for sale. Clapton was furious when he learned about the release. For him, these recordings were never meant to be public. It wasn't just a breach of trust. It felt like a betrayal of the personal and creative bond they shared. Clapton saw the release as a move driven by commercial interests, rather than the integrity of the music they had created together. He couldn't shake off the sense of mistrust that this incident sparked. Page, on the other hand, was caught in a tough position. He later claimed he didn't make any money from the release and that he had no choice in the matter. But the damage was done. Clapton and Page's friendship took a major hit. It wasn't just about the recordings, it was about loyalty and trust, 2 things that had once defined their relationship. By the late 1960s, both Clapton and Page had moved on to bigger things. Clapton co-founded Cream, creating a psychedelic blues rock sound that took the world by storm. Page finally joined the Yardbirds in 1966, later forming Led Zeppelin, one of the most influential bands in rock history. As both men achieved massive success, the rift between them only widened, but there was more drama to come. Clapton had been in a relationship with Charlotte Martin during the late 1960s. Charlotte Martin was a captivating figure in 1960s London, an ambitious French model with an undeniable allure. Born Catherine Martin, she grew up in a strict household, feeling confined by rigid rules. Longing for freedom, she reinvented herself as Charlotte and moved to London, determined to embrace a lifestyle without boundaries. Her beauty and confident demeanor caught the eyes of many, including some of rock's biggest stars. In 1965, Clapton first met Martin at the iconic Speakeasy Club in London. It was a meeting that would change his life. Clapton was instantly smitten, describing Martin as one of the great loves of my life. Their relationship blossomed over the next few years, with Clapton and Martin becoming a well-known couple on the London scene. Clapton was on the brink of superstardom, having just joined John Mayall in the Bluesbreakers and about to launch Cream. Meanwhile, Martin was enjoying her own success in the modeling world. But their romance came with challenges. Clapton was already struggling with personal demons, including substance abuse and an obsession with Pattie Boyd, the wife of George Harrison, one of Clapton's closest friends. The intensity of Clapton's lifestyle took its toll on Martin, who was also grappling with her own desire for freedom. In 1968, the relationship hit a breaking point. According to rumors and later confirmations from Boyd herself, Martin had a fling with Harrison, a betrayal that led to Clapton abruptly ending their relationship. Eric told her to leave, Boyd recalled, adding that Martin then came to stay at Kinfon's, the home she shared with Harrison. After parting ways with Clapton, Martin tried to move forward. It wasn't until her 26th birthday in 1970 that she met Jimmy Page. The introduction came through Roger Daltrey and Heather Taylor, mutual friends who saw potential sparks between the two. Unlike Clapton, who had a brooding and soulful personality, Page had a darker, more mysterious edge. Martin was drawn to his enigmatic presence, and they quickly fell in love. The relationship between Martin and Page was passionate but complicated. Page, at the height of his fame with Led Zeppelin, lived a fast-paced and often chaotic lifestyle. Martin, however, was no stranger to rock star antics and was able to hold her own in Page's unpredictable world. In March 1971, Martin and Page welcomed their daughter, Scarlett Page. It was a pivotal moment for both of them, bringing a new sense of responsibility. While there's no clear evidence of animosity between Clapton and Page over Martin, it's hard to ignore the personal edge it added to their rivalry. Clapton had once considered Martin to be the one, and seeing her with Page, especially with a child, was likely painful. The love triangle added layers to Clapton's already complicated feelings about Page. It wasn't just professional competition anymore. It had become personal. Page and Martin's relationship continued to be stormy. Martin was fiercely independent, and Page's rock star lifestyle, marked by long tours and drug use, created tension. By 1983, after over a decade together, Martin and Page ended their relationship. Despite the breakup, they remained connected through Scarlett, who went on to pursue a successful career as a photographer. Despite these tensions, Clapton and Page continued to cross paths over the years. In 1983, they reunited on stage for the Ronnie Lane Benefit Tour, a charity event for multiple sclerosis research. It was a historic moment, bringing Clapton, Page, and Jeff Beck together for the first time. When asked about his relationship with Page and Beck during that tour, Clapton gave a telling answer. "I think their characters have become very clear, have become compounded." It was a cryptic comment, but it suggested that Clapton's opinion of Page hadn't improved much over the years. There was still a sense of distance, a barrier that couldn't be broken. Page, for his part, has been more diplomatic about the fallout. He has always maintained that the release of the jam sessions was beyond his control. In interviews, he has described Clapton as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, acknowledging their early friendship with fondness. But there's always a hint of regret in his words, a sense that things could have been different. The Clapton-Page feud never reached the level of public outbursts or dramatic confrontations. It was a more subtle, lingering tension, a sense of betrayal that never fully healed. Both men went on to have legendary careers, but their friendship remained a casualty of the business side of music. To this day, there's no clear evidence that they ever truly made amends, leaving fans to wonder if their story could have had a happier ending. Eric Clapton's career in the 1970s was marked by both massive success and deep personal struggles. As Cream disbanded and the dominoes fell apart, Clapton was left grappling with two conflicting passions: music and his love for Pattie Boyd, George Harrison's wife. This longing, combined with a growing heroin addiction, took Clapton into a dark spiral. He retreated to his Surrey home, withdrawing from the music scene. His addiction was so severe that he took a hiatus, broken only by his appearance at George Harrison's concert for Bangladesh in 1971, where Clapton famously collapsed on stage. In 1973, Pete Townshend organized a rainbow concert to help Clapton regain his footing. It was a turning point for Clapton's career and recovery. By 1974, Clapton was clean from heroin, but another demon emerged: alcohol. At the same time, he began living with Pattie Boyd, marking the beginning of a volatile relationship that would eventually lead to their marriage in 1979. Musically, Clapton was still pushing forward. His 1974 album 461 Ocean Boulevard featured the hit I Shot the Sheriff, giving him his first #1 single. The album marked a shift toward more compact songs and less focus on guitar solos. Clapton's next few albums, including There's One in Every Crowd and No Reason to Cry, showed a more laid-back sound, but the hits kept coming. Songs like Wonderful Tonight and Cocaine became staples of his live shows. In 1976, Clapton played at The Last Waltz, the band's farewell concert, adding another landmark to his already storied career. Clapton's personal life remained chaotic. His alcoholism worsened, and by 1982, he reached a breaking point. He admitted his addiction to his manager and flew to the Hazelden Treatment Center in Minnesota. Clapton later recalled, "In the lowest moments of my life, the only reason I didn't harm myself was that I knew I wouldn't be able to drink anymore if I was dead." It was a raw admission that highlighted just how deeply he was struggling. Despite doctors' warnings, Clapton returned to the studio soon after his discharge, recording Money and Cigarettes. He named the album Because That's All I Saw Myself Having Left after rehab. The album marked Clapton's return to form, though it was also the product of a man still fighting his inner demons. Throughout the 1980s, Clapton managed to stay active. He collaborated with Roger Waters, played at Live Aid, and produced hits like Forever Man and She's Waiting with Phil Collins. He also achieved success with August, an album that blended Collins's signature sound with Clapton's blues rock. Songs like It's in the Way That You Use It and Tearing Us Apart showcased a more aggressive sound. Clapton's live performances were just as intense, often featuring fiery solos and energetic duets with Collins. But Clapton's journey hit another tragic low in 1991. On March 20th, his 4-year-old son Connor fell from the 53 RD floor window of a New York City apartment. Clapton was devastated, describing the moment as feeling like he went off the edge of the world. Connor's death led Clapton to write Tears in Heaven, a haunting ballad about loss and regret. It became one of his most iconic songs, earning him 6 Grammy Awards and solidifying his reputation as one of music's most emotionally raw artists. Clapton's music during this period became a means of healing. His Unplugged album in 1992 featured acoustic renditions of his classics and new songs like Tears in Heaven. The album was a massive success, selling over 10 million copies in the U.S. alone. Clapton later described the music as a healing agent, a way to process his grief. In the years that followed, Clapton continued to evolve. His 1994 album From the Cradle was a return to pure blues, featuring covers of old standards. It showcased Clapton's electric guitar skills and reaffirmed his place as a blues legend. He also explored new sounds with albums like Pilgrim in 1998, which featured original material for the first time in nearly a decade. As the 1990s came to a close, Clapton was still collaborating with legends like B.B. King, Carlos Santana, and Sheryl Crow. His song, My Father's Eyes, written about the father he never knew, and his son, Connor, earned him another Grammy in 1999. Clapton's legacy as a guitar god and emotional storyteller was stronger than ever. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Tap the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss another video.